Welcome to Morning Devotion with Ken Gurley. Devotions designed to inspire you on your daily walk with God. Here's your host, Ken Gurley.
Hey, good morning, everybody. Good Tuesday morning to you. Many of you are still on the road, the holidays. I get that. I is too, yes. I'm glad that you are here, though, and glad you make the effort. We just touch base with one another and say hello. And it's just good to see you. I pray the blessings of the Lord upon each of you. We are, this Tuesday, diving into a great subject. Great subjects. And we're starting to wrap up the 12 tests of character. Some of the most challenging sermons I've heard, some of the greatest books, some of the articles, the essays that just impact me the most begin with these words: whatever happened to fill in the blank? Whatever happened to death to us part? Whatever happened to sin? Whatever happened to hell? Whatever happened to loyalty? In these sermons or writings, a person's wrestling with a concept that was once well accepted, but has swiftly gone down the tube, gone by the wayside. There's some wistfulness in the voice, and by voice and the thoughts, they admit there's a good chance that those things won't be returning to the forefront anytime soon. But it's a voice in a wilderness, and I sympathize with that. I get that. If I was to write one of those articles, or one of those kind of messages, I'd probably say, whatever happened to the human conscience? Whatever happened to that? I mentioned in a previous devotion George Washington, and that he wrote down 100 or so thoughts and principles and character qualities that he determined to live by. And you can find them printed. It's a very interesting article. You can search that. Seemed that then that was a conscientious approach to the integrity that a person needs to lead. But we've gone we've gone far away from the day where George Washington is purported to have said, "I cannot tell a lie," to modern politicians almost not being able to even tell the truth. They say things like, "I can't recall that. I don't remember that. I'm not sure. I misspoke. What I did was not technically illegal, blah, blah, blah." It's just a bending of ethics. Martin Luther King Jr. said that he saw the long arc of justice in the universe. What we also see is the dissension of moral values. Whatever happened? Whatever happened to the conscience? Whatever happened to people of character who can, here we go, keep first things first? They're not overextended. They mind their own business. They possess a past tense. They're constantly seeing things others don't see. They're obedient. They're happy. They have this inward joy. And here's another quality. Whatever happened to those people that just said, "I'm going to be a 2-mile man in a 1-mile world. I'm going to be above the average." Do you live above average? That is the 9th test of character that we're working on today. YouTubers, subscribe, identify yourself. Facebookers, follow, identify yourself. Join in the community of the redeemed Morning Devotion family. Romans chapter 1, Paul makes it very clear who he's addressing the Romans to. To all that be in Rome, beloved of God, called to be saints, holy ones. In Romans 12, Paul calls the saints brethren. Paul isn't writing to the lost, he's writing to the saints. This isn't a tabloid for public consumption, it's to be communicated, whispered amongst the saints for our edification. The saints' business is godliness. 4 aspects of godliness Paul quickly shows us. There's a physical aspect. In Romans 12:1, we present our bodies to the Lord's service. living sacrifice, holy, acceptable to God, which is our reasonable service. There's a spiritual aspect revealed in verse 2. Refuse to be conformed to this world. Then there is a mental aspect. We need the renewing of our minds. And there's a continual aspect. It's ongoing to be a living sacrifice, to continue renewing and transforming our minds. So you see that the saints' business of godliness, 4 aspects of godliness, it involves the physical, the spiritual, the mental, and a continual aspect. We're given our rewards, that God will accept us. Yes, that we will please him. It reminds me of that passage. It's that split chapter that, wow, whoever added chapters to the Bible many hundreds of years after the Bible was written, sometimes didn't do us any service. And this is one of those splits between chapter 6 and chapter 17. Chapter 6 ends, wherefore come out from among them, be ye separate, saith the Lord, touch not the unclean, I will receive you, be a father to you. You shall be my sons and daughters, saith the Lord Almighty. And then that chapter former goes whack. It's like, oh, because the verse of chapter 7 says, having therefore these promises, dearly beloved. In other words, it was a continuation of thought. Shouldn't have been chopped up there. He said, let us cleanse ourselves from all filthiness of the flesh and spirit, perfecting holiness in the fear of God. Wow, that's different, isn't it? Rather than following the path of least resistance, we see action here. Action to conform ourselves to the image of the Lord Jesus Christ. And the promise is, if we cleanse ourselves, God will accept us, be a father to us. His will be made evident. We can prove what is that good, acceptable, and perfect will of God. Yes. Do I live above average? You see, above average living in the Bible is called godliness. Above average living in the Bible is called holiness. Above average living is coming out from the world and being separate unto God. There's three reasons that you and I should seek after godliness. First, the mercies of God. I beseech you, therefore, by the mercies of God. Mercies in God, mercies from God. Mercy is in the spring and mercy in the fountain. Since God is merciful and shows mercy, let us give ourselves to him. He knows us. He knows our frames. He knows that we're just dust. He knows our spirit. It's of the Lord's mercies that we are not consumed. Yes. Why should we do this? He's merciful. Here's the second reason we should do it. It pleases him. It's acceptable unto God. We labor, Paul said in 2 Corinthians 5:9, we labor that we might be accepted of him, where we might hear, well done, thou good and faithful servant. Why do we exercise godliness? Why do we live above average to be more like God than this world? Well, we do it because God is merciful. We do it because it pleases God. And then we do it because it's our reasonable service. God doesn't expect blind devotion from us. No, he's not. We serve him with our spirit, with our understanding. There is no good reason not to live holy. God isn't unreasonable. So we can give a reason for the hope that lies within us. It makes us different, unique in God. So all around us, now here's where it gets real plain, folks. The world seeks conformity. The world wants to press you into its mold. The world can't stand you being distinct and different. Now they want to drag you down to their level, to the so-called average. When Nehemiah was on the wall doing a good work, Sanballat and Tobiah and the 6 from the valley of Ono said, come down, come down. He said, no, I'm doing a good work. I'm not coming down to average. Simon Peter at the enemy's fire. The pressure was so great for Simon that he felt himself pushed to curse and to lie, to the characteristics of the world. No, Simon, don't get near the enemy's fire. The world contents itself being average. It's the norm. It's the norm. It's what everybody's doing. It's the tyranny of mediocrity. We don't bow today to monarchs, kings, and queens, but we bow to the norm, to the poll, to the majority vote. You read the latest poll numbers. The average American feels this way. We feel pressure. I got to feel that way. The majority feels this way. I've got to feel that way. Isn't the majority always right? No. I would remind you that of the 3 crosses that stood on Calvary Hill, 2 were thieves and 1 was Jesus. Well, you could say he's the prince of all thieves because he's a lamb that takes away the sins of the world. But no, the majority were thieves. 1 was righteous. 2 roads leading to eternity, Jesus said. One's filled with people. Others got a few on it. You see, what's happening right now? The world's average is lowering. So if you're just aiming for average, then you're going downhill. Family structures falling apart. Homes falling apart. Single parent homes. I do a lot of work with churches, and one of the things that we're going to do when we step into a church, we do it very quickly. We do a study of the surrounding area, and one of the things I always tell pastors, look for single parent homes, because it's always a shock how many single parent homes are around you. It's not unusual to have more single parent homes than both parent homes. The world's average is just lowering. Family structure falling apart. Morality, it's lowering. The world's average is lowering. If you just say, well, I'm better than the world, understand that that's not too high of a target. And each year as morality suffers, just because you can say I'm better means you're probably taking a step down with them everywhere. Decency, things prohibited in yesteryear, things thought indecent in yesteryear are openly displayed. Can we content ourselves with being average when the world's average is slowly, consistently lowering? You need an unchanging standard. Comparing yourself with yourself's not wise. We need an unchanging standard. We need to determine, I'm going to rise above the average in my prayer life. I'm going to rise far above in my consistency. I'm going to rise far above in showing mercy and compassion. I'm going to rise far above in my devotion. And here you are, a morning devotion crowd. Isn't that what you're doing? Bible study and your personal modesty and your witness. Yes. Why is the ministry here? The ministry is here. We suffered one of the most cataclysmic thoughts when we drank from the fountain that there are a few elite people in the church that can pray. There are a few elite people in the church that know the Bible. And all the rest of us, we just have to let them do the work. There are a few people that can pray the prayer of faith. There are a few people that go to the hospital, pray with the sick. But no, the ministry was given. The apostles, prophets, evangelists, pastors, teachers. That fivefold ministry was given by the risen Christ. He ascended and gave gifts to man. The ministry was given for the perfecting of the saints, for the work of ministry, for edifying the body of Christ, until we all come to the unity of faith, to a perfect man, the measure of the stature of the fullness of Christ. That's our goal. We've got to live above average. And I'm just here today. I'm here across the lake and into the ship channel from where I live. You find all of these petrochemical plants, and you see all these towers rising up where they take crude oil, let's say, and they refine it into the various capacities of diesel, gasoline, jet fuel, and so forth. Or these plants that are working with plastics and solvents, and usually in these towers, these pyrolysis towers, they're called cat cracking towers, there is a catalyst that's introduced into the fluid, into the materials, that accelerates. When the heat and the catalyst act on the product, reactions begin to accelerate. Yes. This is what I'm sensing in the Spirit of the Lord, is that there's a catalyst that's been dropped in our hearts and in our spirit. The ministry should act as catalysts to get things moving, to move you toward maturity, to move you toward a ministry, to move you toward being effective in these last days. I don't want to live an average life. I don't want to get up to heaven and say, well, you did some and some less, some more. You're somewhere in the middle. No. I never rejoiced when I got a C. Well, there was one course I took in drafting. I was pretty happy to get out of that course with a C. Yeah. But by and large, I didn't rejoice over C's. I wanted B's. I wanted A's. I wanted to excel. In the same way, in the Spirit, it's a test of character. Do you live above average? To live above average is to say, I'm going to be like Jesus. On earth, I long to be like him. I want to live above average. Oh, yes. Let me give you a couple of notes here, about where we're going with morning devotion. We started morning devotion in 2019 a little bit. 2020 hit it strong. 2021, 2022. It's hard to believe. 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. Wow. But we always start January with our 21 days of prayer and fasting. Just get you ready for that. It'll be Monday, January the 2nd. Loosely follow the themes on the book and prayer. And just keep that in mind. We'll be doing that right after the first of the year, that opening Monday. It just doesn't seem possible. We're through Christmas, headed toward year's end in a brand new year. At the close of this year, we are emphasizing three things. There is an apostolic adoption agency in Tupelo called New Beginnings. Urge you, take a look at that. Reach Out America, take a look at that. Our effort to reach metro church planners, cities, you see all of this out in the description of this. Take a look at that. And if God moves on your heart to do something for that, I'm very thankful for that. Thank God for you. Do you live above average? What I can tell you, the morning devotion family that we get here, we're here Monday through Friday, and so many of you are so consistent in everything you do here. What it tells me is, yes, indeed, there is a desire to live above average. And I thank God for you each and every day. May the Lord be with you. Look forward to seeing you again tomorrow as we begin to wrap up these 12 tests of character. God bless you.
Thank you for listening to Morning Devotion with Ken Gurley. Join us next time for another inspiring devotion. To support this ministry, please visit firstchurch.com/give.